And we are live. Welcome to the podcast, everyone. My name is Maximo, your host. I use pronouns he, him, his proudly. And we are representing tonight on the east side of downtown San Antonio with the man, the myth, the author, Mr. Weston L. Collins. How you doing tonight, sir?
I am good. I am better than ever, actually, believe it or not. I mean, yeah, it's been a journey, and I'm here, and I'm alive, and I'm truly grateful to be alive.
Well, I appreciate you coming down. We're going to get into all the goods, all the news about your outfit tonight, your book, your health journey, a little bit more. Anything else you want to share today, we're going to get to it. Folks, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, get with us on Facebook. Give us a like, comment, share, YouTube us. Come find us, VodPod Media. Give us a like. Every Tuesday night, you know we are taking over the airwaves here with Gylan Jackson here at VodPod Media, the Maximo Show, People, Culture, Power Talks. We're redefining the art of purposeful conversation. And I've been telling you this, bro. We are about 90-something episodes into this show. Wow. And Gylan will tell you, the Podfather, that only like 10% of podcasters get past like 8 episodes or something like that. You know, it is hard to podcast, man. We are working. We are hustling down here.
I see. I see it. I mean, and you're right. You know, like I remember I tried a podcast like in the beginning of podcasting, and I got maybe 3-4 episodes in, and then all of a sudden everybody around me was just like, you know, it's Tuesday, so I think we're gonna bounce. And I'm like, wow, really? Okay, I guess. No, but that's dope, man, that you've been able to do this for so long, man.
Well,
Seriously.
we appreciate you, supporting the show. We appreciate you asking to come on the show. We've been talking, about getting you on for a long time. So I'm glad we can finally get you down here. Give us a little intro to our audience, all of our viewers that don't know you just yet. Understand we can find you on Instagram at author_Weston.
Yeah, author_Weston_L_Collins.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my Instagram. You can go check out, a lot of different insights that I have, artwork for the different books that I have. There's a link to my Amazon page where you can check out all the works that I've written, and published there as well. But yeah, I'm Weston L. Collins, everybody. I am an author. I mean, and that's to this day, that still sounds crazy for me to say out loud that I am an author. I mean, there are a lot of people I know who have made attempts to write books. They say I'm going to write a book someday and everything else, but to actually do it and to get it published and to get it done and to create something that's memorable that people talk about, it's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, I give you props for that, man, because the work speaks for itself. Just like you said, it's about doing the work. It's about showing up. It's about being consistent, about having a product. Now, the product looks phenomenal. We're going to get to that in a little bit. One of the other things that we do with the show here is we continue to illuminate Black and brown brilliance as the standard. We are not a Black and brown podcast per se, but it just so happens to be that every week on the show, we have folks like yourself, folks like myself that are out here doing this work. Now, I'm happy and proud of you, brother, for putting your passion to the purpose and to the pen, to the pad, so to speak, because, writing is a hard thing. Yeah. It seems like you have a calling for that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. For me specifically, I don't know. It's just kind of this weird thing where if I get a moment alone or just get a moment to be in my own thoughts, it just flows right out of me. It really does. I mean, I'm not trying to say that to brag or anything like that, but you guys got to realize something. I came from a background where life was football. I'm from Texas, grew up here in the state. And any young man growing up in the state of Texas, if you have any minuscule ability to play football, you are going to play football. And the funny thing is, I love my dad to death. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, Dad's an amazing guy, But when all of a sudden I started showing, that aptitude for writing, for creativity, he couldn't put a finger on it. He really couldn't. I mean, Dad could put a finger on a 9 to 5 job, possibly joining the military, that type of stuff. But he couldn't put a finger on me writing novels for a career. He just couldn't. And so, when I was in third, fourth grade, and my teachers were like, "Oh my gosh, this child has an amazing imagination. We should put him in these different writing workshops." They had it all figured out. And my dad was just like, "No, none of this is feasible. None of this, none of this will give my son a paycheck."
Yeah.
And so, for a long time, I just kind of sat with my own thoughts and feelings about creativity and things like that, to play football. But then obviously when I became an adult, football was over. My mind had the ability to just run wild. And that's what it's been doing ever since.
Well, you listened to it. You fed that creativity. A lot of people try to shun that and do something else.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm still the guy, if Saturday morning cartoons still came on, I would be watching Saturday morning cartoons.
What's your favorite Saturday morning cartoon?
Oh, man, there were so many. But I have to be honest, I was a Thundercats, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles kind of guy. Yeah, that was definitely me. Oh, and the one that I loved more than anything was Captain N the Game Master. Because all of the people in video games that I remember seeing were actually animated and brought to life, and I thought that was amazing. So living in this time where Marvel movies and DC comic movies are the norm, I'm living in nerd heaven right now.
Hey, well, that's what's up though, man. I see you representing with your Joker hat.
Oh yeah.
So tell me who your favorite Joker was.
My favorite Joker in the movies, I assume?
Yeah. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go there.
So let's see. I would say, in the movies, my favorite version of the Joker would probably, I'm just gonna be honest, it's got to be Heath Ledger.
Ooh.
It really does, because here's something. And it's something that I use when I write too. It's what I call villain theory. Okay, villain theory is this: there's really no difference between heroes and villains. None. Both want a better world. One person believes in their own power to create the better world, while the other person believes in people so that they can create a better world for themselves. That's really the only difference between heroes and villains in stories.
Yeah, man. I like the allegory of that, Again, not to get too nerded out on it, but the Batman and the Joker thing is like they're the same person.
Yeah.
They're like half and half, right? Or they embody each other, like looking into a mirror, the yin and the yang.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in a perfect world for the Joker, chaos rules more than order, and in his mind, a better world is one that's ruled by chaos, because there's a certain freedom in chaos that isn't necessarily, it's not exactly met, with the order that Batman tries to create. But Batman sees order as a better world. But again, they both have the same purpose. One goes about it one way, the other goes about it another way.
So you put a lot of thought and effort into this stuff.
Oh,
you ain't a dude who just shallows through with these thoughts.
No.
And so tell me about your shirt.
Okay. So here we go. And I get this argument with people all the time, and I don't understand, because there's a whole documentary about it. Back in 1975, before any kind of like British, punk rock invasion, before any kind of punk rock, BCBG, all that stuff. Back in 1975, there was this band in Detroit, Michigan, of these three black men called Death. Here's the thing: they call themselves Death to try to separate themselves from other, like R&B bands and stuff like that, because they had a completely different sound. The funny thing is, they really didn't even know what they had at that moment. It's just the record producers, they knew that this was cool. They knew that this sound was amazing, but they didn't know how to market it. They didn't know who to really present it to. And so, long story short, that effort dissolved. But, the record definitely got overseas. And, you hear a lot of people in the UK listening to it, and, like underground nightclubs and bars and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, before they knew it, there were these bands that were based off of this sound. And so that's kind of the way. That's kind of how punk rock came to be, you know. And they are credited with truly being the first punk rock band in history. So, that's the history of punk rock, people. It was three black dudes in Detroit that nobody knew what to do with.
Ooh, there you go, folks. Go ahead and Google that shit because Weston's bringing it down. And so, listen, man, this is deep, man. This is interesting. So I got to ask you some more questions, man, because again, this is more in depth than I think people understand, particularly when it comes to your writing. So let's talk about, I want to know also too about your musical influences, but I want to know about your writing influences because when we're looking at here, folks, I mean, this is some deep stuff, man. This is like some allegory of the cave. This is like diving down into that bottomless rabbit hole where you're looking at science fiction. Right. You're thinking about, gender studies. Yeah. I mean, we're talking, all of this deep, complex items. Talk to me about your writing style, your writing influences, and, how you start pouring yourself into the books like this.
So I got to be honest with you. The first writing influence that I definitely want to talk about is my mom. My mom was an amazing woman. She, during a time where people weren't really getting a bunch of college degrees and stuff like that, my mom had 3 different master's degrees and was teaching at an elementary school in Houston, Texas. She actually had to lie to the elementary school that she didn't have as many degrees as she did, so that way they'd hire her. Because they'd always say, oh, well, you're overqualified, so we can't hire you at this lowly elementary school. But she always wanted me to read, and she always wanted to read to me. And, my mom would take, books from the library, that type of stuff. And I remember one day she was just looking at the book and reading me the story, wasn't turning any pages whatsoever. And I was like, wait a minute. You're not really reading the book, are you? That's not what's in that book, is it? You're just making this up. You're literally making up the story on the fly. And she was just like, well, yeah, baby, I am. I mean, if I'm being honest with you, you've literally read every book in our elementary library. And not only that, but, there's just no more books. I mean, you would have to go to the, like the main public library downtown to get more books because you've either read them yourself or I've read them to you. And that's just the end of that. And I was like, wow. But her telling me that, it showed me that you could create your own stories, And when she showed that to me, it just that was the spark for me. That was the one thing that told me that you can create what you want to create. And you can easily do it through the written word. You could easily do it through your own imagination and your own creativity. And that's what really sparked my interest in becoming an author.
All right, folks, there it is. So figuratively and literally, you can write your own ticket. You can blaze your own path. You can do your own thing. You can chase your passions. You can do what you love. I spoke to a group of students a while ago, college students, and I told them, look, you can do what you want to do. You can chase your dreams. You can get these degrees. You can do whatever your heart desires. But I don't think that you're ever really going to feel fulfilled unless you do what you absolutely love.
Exactly.
And you have found that, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, I got to be honest with you. When I sit down and I start writing, I just kind of disappear into this world of my own creation. I have to be honest with you, and I know this isn't the manliest thing, but I don't care. I really don't. I remember watching Willy Wonka a long time ago. And I remember especially when my mom passed away, I was in the 4th grade when that happened. And I remember I was thinking about her one night, and it just it was getting to me. And Willy Wonka was on. And then he started singing the song World of My Imagination. And I lost it because, just what he was saying in that song just it was like my mom was talking to me, like, hey, you're still very imaginative. You still can create. You still can be that person that I've taught you to be. And excuse me, I'm getting choked up thinking about it.
It's all good, man.
But yeah, I mean, knowing that no matter what's going on in the world around me, if I can get in front of, a piece of paper with a pencil in my hand, or, now, thank God, I can get in front of a laptop and start writing, I can let the world around me melt away, and I can live in the world that I'm creating. And that's truly a blessing.
Well, good for you. Like I said, I'm happy for you. Congratulations on this book, the previous books that you've written, the future books that you'll write.
Yeah.
You are creating your own lane with this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Now, let's get into it. Tell me about this book, She.
Okay. First of all, shout out to all the women who, were definitely brave enough to actually talk to me about even, just talk to me about a subject like this, to even, enlighten me to things, everything, because, and sadly, as men, it's our own fault, the reason that this type of discourse really doesn't exist anymore. We have not made it a safe space for a lot of women to be able to talk to us about, these types of things, we've put women in a very bad position of, not feeling listened to, being made to feel stupid, their feelings aren't valid. That all of that crap, believe me, I'm sorry that I know that this has happened because of the intense research and study that I've done to actually write this book. But I do want to say thank you to the women who were definitely brave enough to talk to me about all this and, help me create this book, really. As far as the novel goes, it was an interesting journey. It really was. I'm in a lot of writers groups. I know a lot of authors. We talk online, and we're in different forums, things like that. What got me is that there are a lot of women out there that have completely lost faith in a man's ability to write a female character. Because, and I gotta be honest, I didn't think that it was really that bad. I really didn't. I was like, oh, come on, this can't be, again, forgive me, falling into the same trap that, the reason why a lot of women don't like when men write female characters. I was believing in my own logic, believing in my own reasoning, not taking anyone else's logic or reasoning into consideration. I say that because, I noticed that there was this joke that went around to all, throughout all the different groups. And you know what the joke is?
Hey, let's go ahead and hear the joke.
Okay. Okay, so in a few groups that I'm in, the women there, they basically say that men write female characters like this. The big boobed woman walked boobedly down the vagina-shaped hallway. Did I mention her boobs? Yes.
Yeah.
That's the way a lot of guys write women, in novels. And frankly, I thought it was, they were just, I'm like, oh, they got to be full of it. Oh, they're just pulling my leg or something. There's no way it could be this bad. Turns out after I really looked into it, it's truly that bad. I mean, you'll see men write about these beautiful dreamscapes and this imagery that where you just feel like you're right there in the center of the world that they've created, only to basically talk about someone's breasts in the next paragraph.
Yeah.
And then it takes you out of it and you're like, well, wait a minute, what? Weren't we just talking about how beautiful the sky was and how pillowy the clouds were? Wait a minute, like, this doesn't make any sense. And so I'm the type of person, I don't really like for people to not be seen. I don't like people to feel discarded. I don't like for people to not be included, So I decided, I'm going to try to write this book as accurately as I can, you know, from a woman's perspective. Not saying that, I'm trying to be a woman or anything
Yeah.
like that. It's just that I felt like I could write, a first person point of view female protagonist, you know? And it was a fairly daunting task. It really was. Because, I got cussed out a few times. I'm just going to be honest about that. I definitely got corrected in a lot of ways. And what it allowed me to do was it allowed me to actually, like I said before, move my own logic and reasoning to the side and just accept what was being told to me, accept, the words of, the women that I was, tapping to, you know, get the information, get the emotions and the feelings behind the words and everything. So that way I could write an accurate female character.
Yeah. So let's go back, to crystallize this, right? To put it more clearly for our viewers, those wondering a little bit more. You mentioned you did some research,
Right.
right? And you picked some brains and you did some case studies and you did some, examinations, through from other women to
Right.
get their, their thoughts, get their feedback. And then you wrote this book as a woman, right? From a first person perspective of a
Right.
woman. Okay. Then you mentioned, you said you've been cussed out a few times. Now, were
Yeah.
you cussed out during that process of the learning or after the fact?
Well, to be quite honest, it was mainly beforehand. I mean, because especially when you go to someone and you present something to them like this, there's a lot of reasons why there isn't a whole lot of discourse between men and women in the world. Um, we haven't necessarily created the safest space for women to openly express themselves without ridicule, without some sort of just malfeasance in some ways. I mean, it's one of those things where we created a toxic environment for that
Yeah.
discourse to happen, and then we wonder why women don't talk to us about these kinds of things. And so, the fact that I was even doing something like this, people were worried. People were like, "Oh, this is going to injure your right. This is going to injure your career as an author," or, I don't know how I feel about a man writing something like this from a woman's perspective. Like, this doesn't seem that this bothers me in some way, shape, or form. And I understand why. I do. We live in a world where people are, try to be, especially men, we try to be experts on women and, experts on dating and experts on how to, like pick up artists and stuff like that, and the psychology of women and stuff. There was a guy that I actually researched, and I'm just gonna call him out because it's stupid. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It truly is. There was a man who referred to himself as the woman whisperer.
Mm.
Like, is she a horse? Like, what? No, stop now. But seriously, I just when I I wasn't here to do that. I wasn't here to be that. Like, I totally find all that stuff just completely disgusting. It really is, because you're not treating someone of the opposite sex as a person.
Mm-hmm.
You're treating them like they're some sort of animal. They're some sort of Rubik's cube to just solve, and that's it. I mean, that wasn't what I was doing at all. And I'm very grateful for the women who were able to see through that and give me sound advice and to give me, very sound direction into where to take the character and everything.
Okay, so tell us about Sharon.
Okay, so Sharon is, an average person. Truly an average person. She's a little smarter than most people because, she was able to become a chemical engineer. You know, um, she lived a very normal life. She kind of was a wallflower, and that extended into adulthood. She had a little one bedroom apartment, and wasn't doing much but just her research at the lab. Then the lab accident happens, and what happens to her is um, the explosion causes a situation where her brain cells are affected, and it basically opens her cells up to receive a special kind of radiation that helps her actually use 100% of her brain, as opposed to the lowly 15-18% that we actually do use. And so think about that for a second. You're able to use 100% of your brain. I remember I was talking to you earlier about working out. When you lift weights, you try your best to break down the muscle fibers, so that way your body can use protein to rebuild the muscle. So that way you get bigger, stronger, everything else, right? But your body can't change the shape of your nose. You can't forcibly, with any, physical motion, change the shape of your nose, the size of your lips, the texture of your hair, none of that, right? Your body and your DNA have a lot to do with that. But again, if you can truly operate 100% of your brain can tell your body, hey, burn the fat that's right here in this part of the abdomen. That way, your six pack starts to show. Your body can tell, your brain can tell your body, hey, rebuild the muscles in the chest area. That way, they're 5 to 6 times bigger, than what they would have normally been with regular body function. And so she's now able to change herself, and she's able to become essentially whoever that she wants. Because part of the lore of S.H.E is that she could be anybody. She can look like, someone's mother, their sister, their girlfriend, their wife, someone who lives in a country that they've never been to. No one really knows what she looks like. She's just kind of this omnipresent, embodiment of, femininity.
So she is also depicted through this artwork.
Yes.
And so this is some really good artwork. Front and back of the book, folks. Tell us about the artwork.
So the artwork was a journey within itself. And by the way, shout out to my man David and I3 Media. I really appreciate all the hard work you guys did to help bring Sharon to life. Like, really, I do. Because it was definitely a daunting task. Part of what we had to do is actually look past the male gaze. That was the first thing we had to do. Because when I remember when I was talking to him about the cover and the art, I said, okay, I want Sharon to be a normal woman. I want her to be very average. I want her to be essentially an every woman. So that way, I don't want her looks to be oh so special to the point to where it takes away from who she is as a person, So the first image and I told him this, and, they put a male artist on it, which would maybe not have been the best idea. Because the first thing I saw was this woman with like a headdress that looked like Nefertiti and cheekbones up to her eyelids and just this super slender face with the strongest collarbone I had ever seen in my life. And I was like, whoa, guys. Even though there are women who look like this, the average woman on planet Earth does not look like this. It's a totally, like we've got to calm some of this down. I'm like, give her a little bit more weight. Let's lose the whole protruding collarbone thing. Let's make her more normal. Then what I got a woman with cheeks literally that stretched across the page. I got one woman that honestly looked like a mountain at one point. I also got a woman who, unfortunately, looked like a drug addict. And I was just like, okay, wow. I just said normal. And, that's another part of the male gaze that I had a hard time coming to terms with. It's like either absolutely drop dead, gorgeous, beautiful, or I'm just going to create this absolute hag. which didn't make any sense to me. I'm like, why can't we come to a middle ground here?
Sure.
You know, I mean, we see regular people on the street every day. What's the disconnect? And so David was like, okay, you know what? Let's try something else. And he got in touch with this woman who's, you know, an amazing artist. And what she did was she drew, you know, the cover as you see it now, where she's staring off into the middle distance. She's staring off into space, and believe it or not, the fact that she looks like a part of the book, which I won't get into because I do want people to still read it. And I was worried at first. I was worried because I was like, man, we can't see her face. Why can't we see her face? We've got to put a face to this and all this other stuff. And then, you know, like a lot of times in my life, she kind of brought me back down to earth and put me in my place a little bit. And she said, well, you know, part of the lore of this character is that no one knows how she looks.
Yeah.
No one knows her original form. Everyone just sees how she has reshaped herself. So why do we need to see her face? If she truly is every woman, then why do we need to see a specific person as this character? And it just made sense. And I was like, you know, if I want every woman who reads this book to essentially see themselves in this character, I want them to just be able to let their own imaginations run wild and to actually sit there and say, you know what, this could be me staring off into space. This could be me, you know, sitting in a park, you know, watching the world go by, you know, and to actually not see her face became, you know, just a deeper moment than not.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Why should people buy and read this book?
People should buy and read this book because, well, first of all, I have bills to pay. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, but seriously, people should buy and definitely read this book for a few reasons. One big reason is that, you know, I saw a lot of, you know, again, I appreciate the women that definitely had this type of discourse with me, you know, but unfortunately, we're still in that space where men and women really aren't necessarily too comfortable with talking about stuff like this, you know. It's very hard to, you know, try to make things better or to try to address certain things when no one is really talking about it. And it's a tough conversation. I'm not going to say that it's easy.
Sure.
You know, I'm not. But the conversation needs to be had. It has to be had. You know, some of the things that I was told, you know, even when in the research, you know, for all this, some things made me laugh, like really made me laugh. Some things, you know, just just sunk my heart into the ground. And I was just, you know, I cried a little bit because I'd never do X, Y, and Z, right? Or even, and beautiful without me, you don't need a lot of men out there, the Lord's work. When no one cares because 98%, I mean, nothing. Time, oh, well, she's putting all this makeup just to attract a man and all this. No, 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 no. You know, you know what? I look pretty. And stick or something. I'll get that one little look like, "Ooh, girl, look at that eyeshadow. Wait, hold on, wait a minute. Where'd you get that? Oh, it looks good on you. Oh, where'd you get it? Oh, you got a deal on it too? Oh, okay. All right, I see you." You know, I mean, and you know, women love that type of interaction. You know, that I learned, and again, still nothing to do with us. Absolutely nothing to do with us. Or sometimes it's just to have that little bit of confidence, you know, to like go out on a date and say, I am just the woman tonight, and there is nothing that anybody can tell me. Again, nothing to do with us. Nothing. So, and I'm going to say this to all the men out there who are actually watching this. The whole makeup thing and us commenting on makeup or telling a woman she doesn't need makeup and all that other stuff, it has nothing to do with us. Nothing.
It's not your place, homie. Sit down.
Exactly. It's not your place. No one cares, so stop. Seriously.
So if you're watching this, folks, tell us why you wear makeup. Tell us why you don't wear makeup. I got to hear it. Drop it in the comment section. Maybe we have Weston back and we have a deeper, broader discussion about makeup, about, what personal interests,
right.
about what is it, self-esteem? I don't know. What is it all?
Yeah. I mean, really, here's the thing, and I'm going to just be real with you about this. And this is just me speaking as a man and being very open and honest here. A woman could actually walk into, if I was a single man, because believe me, I am not.
He's married, folks.
Very married. If I was a single man, and I got to be honest, and you could probably agree with me on this or not. If a beautiful woman walked in with a holy t-shirt with her hair tied up and barefoot and was like, hey, let's have a good time. It's like, well, shoot, I'll talk to you later. I'm going to have that good time. I'm not going to tell her no. I mean, most men out there would not tell a woman like that no. So they know that stuff doesn't necessarily need to happen, but they don't do it for us. They do it for themselves. Kind of getting into what kind of made me just feel just absolutely terrible is that, and I mean, we're told all the time that no means no and we should just move on, The thing that gets me is that I remember there's a person that, I was having a discussion with, and everybody was talking about being afraid to just say the word no or to be direct, with the no. And I was like, well, why don't you just say no? That doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't you just? And then, and she knows who she is too. She actually pulled me aside in the conversation, with a little, we were online, and she, just replied to what I said. She was like, brother, you've been married for a long time. You've been out of the game for a minute. Let me explain to you the way things work now. And I was just like, okay. She showed me this article about a woman in a Miami nightclub, right? And there was this guy who tried to talk to her, and she was just like, oh, no, thank you, and just kept walking. So he tries again, and she's just like, well, no, I said no, thank you, but this isn't what I'm interested in. He was so upset. He got in his car, didn't even care if she lived or died, hit her with the car.
Yeah, I remember this.
Yeah, drove over her, backed up over her, and drove over her again, and left, and just drove away, simply because of the fact that she told him no.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, there are so many real men out there who would just appreciate the discourse of just being told no, so that way we can move on.
Yeah, we got some real problems with misogyny and sexism in society.
Absolutely.
So I give you credit for taking a bold stance and writing this book from the perspective that you did, doing your due diligence. And like you said, I mean, there may be some people who disagree still, but I think what that highlights is the importance to have these sorts of discussions.
Absolutely.
Where we're getting more in depth on it. We're opening a discussion. We're inviting people into the discussion.
Right.
We're talking about certain things. Again, if you take the makeup for example, that's a great point for men to hear. Perhaps there are men that need to hear, hey, look, Holmes, you don't need to comment on so and so's makeup.
Right.
It's what business is it?
Right.
Right. And that's part of what the root of misogyny is us concerning ourselves with someone else's business.
Exactly. And you're right, because and there's something I want to make very clear. I think that I wrote a great book. I really do. However, if there are people out there, especially women, if there are women out there who don't like the concept or the idea, or they think that they didn't like the book because of whatever reason, that's fine. I'm actually happy. Here's why. I'm happy because I've at least started the conversation. I've at least tried to start the discourse again. Because, you know, if someone doesn't at least make an attempt to try to understand someone else, then no one will ever understand anybody.
Yeah, and that's part of the genesis of this podcast. You know, Gylan and I got together a while ago and said we need to start having some deeper discussions. You know, we need to be vulnerable. We need to, you know, allow ourselves to be uncomfortable. We have to, you know, sit down and talk with people we wouldn't normally speak with, and be honest and be open, try to find common ground and try to find ways to live together. And that's important because, you know, everybody's going through something. And I think you know that better than a lot of people.
Yes.
Do you want to comment a little bit on your health journey?
Yeah, I do actually. Also, just real quick, shout out to everybody who is involved with Kidney Solutions. They're a great nonprofit organization that helps people find kidney transplants. They counsel people who've received transplants and those who are looking. So that is an amazing service. If you ever get a chance to contact Kent Bressler to be a part of that, you know, if you're looking to donate anything, like that would be amazing. They're on Facebook, or just look up Kidney Solutions and they're right there. So with that part being said, not to give it away as I probably already have, I am the recipient of a kidney transplant. For 7 long years I was on dialysis, trying to, just survive, just to be alive, you know. It was rough. It was rough in the sense of the toll that it took on my body, but it was also rough in the sense of the toll that it took on my mind. Because, and this is something I don't necessarily talk about a lot, but I'm just going to be honest, because I think people really need to hear this. There were so many people when I found out that I had kidney disease and that I was going to have to go on dialysis. There were so many people who I thought were friends, that I thought were family, that I thought were just like my closest people. They find this out about me, and literally people just stopped being involved in my life. People started falling off left and right. You know, it was a sentiment of, oh, well, you know, Weston's going to die anyway, so we might as well start distancing ourselves now to make it not so hard if and when he does pass away.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's how I felt. That's how I truly felt. I mean, because before that, people would always invite me places. We'd always go hang out, you know. I had a fairly, you know, active lifestyle with a lot of my friends, a lot of my family, you know. And then when that happened, it was like that switch just gets turned off. People don't invite me places. People don't, you know, it's like people treated me like I had leprosy or something, you know? And it was bad. It was really bad. I definitely had a bit of depression that was going on due to that. And, you know, and by absolute luck, but I won't say luck, because I definitely did work hard to make sure all my numbers were right. And I, you know, did all the things that I needed to do to make sure I got a kidney transplant. I have to be honest, there was something supernatural going on to actually give me the kidney, because I didn't get anybody to donate a kidney to me. You know, that was another thing. People, I think, were worried about me trying to go out, like, you know, try to get somebody's kidney or something, and that was never the case. But, you know, I think that's what people thought. Anyway, I remember it was the beginning of February last year. Do you remember? Here in San Antonio. And it froze. A lot of the highways were frozen.
Deep freeze.
Yeah, a lot of the highways were frozen over. Nobody was really getting in or out of the city through any of the interstates, you know. And I lived maybe about 6 minutes away from the transplant hospital. And I get this call one day, and, you know, it's like a number from like Iowa or something. I'm like, I don't know anybody in Iowa. And I let it go to voicemail. And then all of a sudden, you know, the same number calls my wife. And I'm like, well, that's weird. Why would the same number call my wife? I said, wait a minute, let me check the voicemail. And there was this nice, polite woman who was a little, a little sarcastic, which I appreciated because of my own sense of humor. She said, hi, I was calling to see if you wanted a kidney. Call me back. Bye. And I'm like, oh my God, is this real?
That was the call.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'd waited 7 years. And I was like, okay, let's think. Because I was with my wife at the time, and we're like, okay, let's think about this for a second. Let's call back and let's see if this is a real thing. We call back. They're like, well, yeah, because I was actually, I think, number 8 or 9 on the list to get a kidney. Like, there were people ahead of me. I was not supposed to get that kidney. But because of the freeze and everything else, person 1 through like 8 or 1 through 7 or whatever, they were all from out of town. They all had to come in from either, like out of state, someplace, like in West Texas, North Texas, whatever. And with frozen highways, there was no way that they were going to actually get there to get the kidney. And so I was next on the list at like number 8, number 9, which is crazy. But yeah, they called me that day. They told me, well, hey, pack your stuff, meet us at the hospital and we'll get you checked in. And I don't even know what I packed so stupidly. I was just trying to get there.
Yeah.
I think I got like a pair of shorts, some sneakers that I hadn't worn in years, a t-shirt that I know that didn't fit, and then like a pair of slacks for some reason. And I just went to the hospital. Nothing else in my bag. And then when we got there, my wife looked at everything I had packed and just shook her head, and she was like, yeah, I'll be back to actually bring your real clothes, because whatever this is, this ain't it.
Yeah.
So I was transplanted, about a day or 2 after that. And, I've had some struggle, just because it was a deceased donor. I definitely thank God for, that person's sacrifice. But and that's come with some complications that I'm definitely getting past. But I have a kidney now, and I'm alive, and that's why I said in the very beginning of this interview, that I was doing great and that I was glad to be alive. And when you hear people say that all the time, but I am really, really glad to be alive.
Well, I'm glad you're alive too. Because you have a purpose, you have a mission that you're carrying out.
Yeah.
I like to think that sometimes that we're the vessels of the work, right? And, I appreciate, you, I give you grace, I give you gratitude for the work that you've done, the work you continue to do, the work that you're doing just by being here, being present, lots to be said about it all, man.
Yeah.
We're big wellness advocates here at the show. Most of my circle are people that are in the health and wellness spaces of some form. I also continue to invite people to dive deeper into their mental health, which, that's something as men we don't do often. Now the tide is turning because of these sorts of conversations, us openly talking about our mental state. I also sent you a meme earlier as well.
Yeah.
That had to do with, and I think I can read it, because I'd like to have everyone listen to this, sort of quote this meme that I found somewhere online. And it says, a healthy man wants 1,000 things. A sick man only wants one. Everything seems important until you're sick. Then you realize the only thing that matters is your health. If the richest person in the world was diagnosed with Alzheimer's or cancer, he would give up his entire wealth to heal. Health is the most valuable asset in the world today. Don't wait until you're sick to realize this. Now some people may think that's bullshit, but I like to believe that I've spoken to enough people that would perhaps agree with the sentiment there.
Yeah.
What do you got about that?
Absolutely. I mean, I definitely, I will say that being on this journey it's been a humbling experience. It really has been, just because of the fact that, like you gotta know something about me. I'm from Houston, they call it Hustle Town for a reason. You know, everything about my life before kidney disease was work, hustle, get it, grind. You know, that was my mentality. You know, I didn't care if I didn't have any time off. I didn't care if I was working until like 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, you know, trying to realize my dreams. Like, I didn't care about any of that stuff. You know, I definitely had that whole rise and grind mentality, you know. But I will say that throughout all this, you know, I appreciate the fact that I appreciate the fact that I'm able to wake up in the morning on my own terms without having to go to a dialysis clinic to
Yeah.
get my blood cleaned out. That I'm able to see my wife's loving face in the morning, you know, as she gives me a kiss before we start our day. It feels good to just come home and watch TV and laugh and have her lay in my arms.
Yeah.
And those are things that I cannot say that I would have really been able to do or enjoy had I still been on a dialysis machine, you know? And I got to be honest, like people have to realize something. Everything I do is for her. Like truly. Even, you know, me writing and trying to be successful as an author, you know, I want to provide her with a life of comfort.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want her to be stressed about anything. I know she always will because that's kind of her personality. But, you know, as a husband, you know, I think, you know, many of us who are married out there or with someone that we feel is truly significant, you know, I think the one thing that we want to do is provide, you know, our partners with the most possible comfort that they could ever experience. You know, and part of that is, you know, keeping your own mental health in check. Part of that is making sure that, you know, you're successful enough to try to give them that type of life, you know. So it's funny because I've always heard the expression, you've got to know what's important. You've got to really put into perspective what's important, you know. And for me, a lot of my life, it's like, okay, well, you know, what's important for me is having the money to be able to provide these things, right? But then it's funny, as we do, we read memes and watch videos and stuff. And there was a video that I saw that definitely put things in a perspective. The guy said, okay, so would you take $500,000 right now, but your mom dies the next day? You got 500,000, but you just lost your mom. Are you willing to accept that? No, because having your mother in your life is important to you. And then he said, okay, what if we put $1 million in your life, but for the rest of your life, you're going to be sick. You're always going to feel bad. Would that, is that worth it? No, because you don't want to feel sick for the rest of your life. You eventually want to get better. So $1 million for being sick for the rest of your life, it's not going to fly. And then he said that the third thing that he said was, what if I gave you $5 million right now, but you never spent another moment with your kids? You never gave them another hug, another kiss. They don't even know who you are. Would you be willing to accept that for $5 million? Absolutely not. You love your kids. You want your kids to be a part of your life. You want to take care of your kids. You want to make sure that, you can give them any and everything that they want in life, and that includes your love. So you see, money isn't necessarily the focal point here. Your focal point is, making sure that your family is okay, making sure that, your mental health is in check, making sure that these things are going well in your life, as opposed to the money to try to take care of those things.
Yeah. Well, shout out to all of our people. Shout out to everybody watching. Shout out to our accountability partners. Shout out to our spouses. Shout out to my spouse getting that South Florida money. Shout out to everybody here, supporting VodPod. Everybody here that's supporting others, empowering them to do what they love, to chase their dreams. Absolutely. We got a couple minutes left in the show. Weston, tell us quickly where people can find the book.
Okay, so you can definitely find the book on Amazon. That and the other books that I've written and published. I've got, you go to Amazon, type in Weston L. Collins, and all my whole author page pops up, and you can check out, S.H.E, The Man Who Knew God, Deorum Gods Among Us. And if you're a Chicken Soup for the Soul, I forgot. If you're a Chicken Soup for the Soul fan, there's a book that they published called Mother Knows Best. I'm actually featured in that, believe it or not. And I talk a little bit about the journey of my mom kind of inspiring me to become an author. So if you want to check that out, you definitely can. Also, definitely, please, and I'm like hands folded and everything, please follow me on social media. I'm Weston L. Collins on Facebook. I'm author _Weston, WESTONS. Wait, there's an extra. Let me try that again. Sorry. It's author _Weston, WESTON. There you go. _L _Collins on Instagram. I gotta be honest with you. Shout out to everybody on Instagram who's following me. All 97,000 of you guys. I truly love each and every one of you. Seriously. Definitely, and those who haven't started following me on that, definitely follow me on Instagram, because that's where you'll get, visuals of the art that help create these books. You'll get, different quotes from people that I know, myself, different images from, just my journey as an author. Because here's the thing, I feel like if you guys understand my journey and how and why I write the books that I write, I think you'll definitely understand and appreciate the books just that much more.
All right, man. Well, hey, good story, good stuff. Again, shout out to you, shout out to your work, shout out to your health, shout out to the measures that y'all are doing to stay healthy as well. If we can support you in any further way, man, do not hesitate to give us a call, give us a shout out, let us know whatever it is we can do for you, consider it done. To all our viewers, to all of our supporters, we love y'all as well. We're doing it big here at VodPod the next couple of weeks. Come check us out. Follow, like, subscribe, get with us, DM us. Let us know if there's any ideas, any questions, anything we can do for the community. That's what this is about. It's about community. It's about our people. It's about empowering each other. It's about chasing that dream and doing what we all love to do, and that's work together. Absolutely. So thank you so much, folks, for watching tonight. We'll see you next time here at VodPod Media. Guyland, we love y'all. Take it home. We'll see you next time.